Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Joy-Filled Universe podcast. I am your host, Lisa Ryan, and today we are going to talk about something that I have known about for a little while now, but I haven't consistently practiced it until maybe just a couple of months ago. So today's episode is all about something called emotional freedom technique, and many of you may have already heard this referred to as EFT tapping. And this episode is definitely one of those moments when I am not just sharing a technique. I am actually going to lean right into this one with all of you because yes, I have learned about this some time ago, and I do believe that it is definitely something that we could all benefit from. And so starting today, I am completely committed to doing EFT for 5 to 10 minutes every day going forward. And I'm hoping that after this pod, you're going to want to give it a try too. So let's start with the fact that there is tons of EFT content out there, whether it's books or YouTube videos, podcasts, Instagram shorts, TikToks, just so much material. And the book that I'm currently reading right now is called Tapping In by Poppy Delbridge. So for today, I am going to do my very best to succinctly explain EFT in a way that we can all start practicing it now. And with that, I will just say that to describe EFT, the way I have heard it best messaged is that it is like acupuncture without the needles. And while acupuncture has been around for centuries and largely a practice attributed to the Chinese, in 1980, Dr. Roger Callahan, an American psychologist, applied psychology with acupuncture and discovered that negative thoughts and behaviors can be treated and in some cases even cured. And then in the 1990s, one of Dr. Callahan's students, which is a gentleman by the name of Gary Craig, developed what we know today as emotional freedom technique. And one of the reasons that I really love this concept of EFT is that, as we have learned, in order to manifest all sorts of abundance into our lives, we have to find ourselves onto a high vibrational frequency, which usually means little to no resistance in our path to slow down the flow of really great high vibe energy. And EFT tapping is definitely a technique that we can use to help shift negative energy within us. So some things that we have learned from the ancient Chinese acupuncture is that we have meridian lines or energy pathways that run throughout our body. And these meridians carry what's often referred to as life force energy or chi. And when our life force energy is flowing freely, we feel aligned, calm, balanced, joyful, and all other love-based emotions. But when one or some of our life force energy meridian lines become blocked by things like stress or trauma or fear or feelings that result from limiting beliefs that don't serve us, our bodies respond in ways that lead us to feeling anxious, stuck, overwhelmed, sad, depressed, and sometimes we may not even know or be able to put our fingers on it. We just know that we're feeling kind of off. So what EFT does is it gently stimulates specific meridian points by lightly tapping on them with our fingertips. And it's usually like the index and middle fingers that do the tapping. And when we do this, we raise our awareness to what it is that we are feeling. And by tapping, we are interrupting the thought patterns that go along with this unsettling energy flow. And what I'm growing to appreciate about EFT is that rather than suppressing our emotions, right? Saying things like, I'm fine, everything's good, or it will pass, or it is what it is. It's no big deal. Rather than saying stuff like that to mask how we really feel, with EFT, we are actually acknowledging feelings that create low vibe emotions within us. And by creating the pattern interrupt, we are moving that energy through the body as a way of clearing it. We're removing the blocks so that our energy channels or meridians can flow freely once again. It's kind of like, it's kind of like unclogging a pipe that's been built up with so much gunk that the water can't flow freely through it. And then if we don't address the clog, the pressure starts to build and build up so much on the blocked side that we might eventually spring a leak due to the pressure, which is a very curious and odd metaphor, but I feel like it works here because when we don't deal with blocked negative energy, it creates dis-ease in the body, which when left to build up within us, it can sometimes result in a form of disease or extreme discomfort or any other form of low vibe energy outcomes within us. Okay, so now, along with the psychology application from Dr. Callahan, there is also lots of other scientific studies that support the effectiveness of EFT. And these studies and research have explored how stimulating our acupressure points can regulate how our bodies respond to various forms of stress. And what researchers have observed is that tapping on the meridian endpoints while focusing on emotional stressors can actually help decrease activity in the brain's fear center, or otherwise known as the amygdala. It can help lower stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, and it can help with reducing feelings of anxiety, pain relief, phobias, addiction, depression, and overwhelm, just to name a few. So with EFT, we are largely combining psychological exposure through the acknowledgement of what is coming up for us energetically with physical regulation of that energy through our bodies. And I feel like this is a really important point to make because another thing we have learned in the past is that the average human spends a huge portion of their life in survival mode. And I think that we said it was somewhere around 70%. And because of this, many of us are constantly in some form of low-level stress. And I don't know about you, but when I am in a stressful state, I can find it really hard to feel present, think clearly, respond versus react, be creative, or even have an open mind to visualize and manifest what I actually want in my life because I'm just too focused on what I don't want. However, we now have a free and easy to use tool called EFT that will help us to bring our body out of the stress response mode and back into a more regulated, grounded state, otherwise known as a state of abundant flow. All right, so now that I have mentioned the word manifest, I want to address something that I think is really important, most especially if you are like me and always on the quest of manifesting the most magical life each and every day. So now I am going to do my very best to explain how to do EFT. And I want you to be aware that when doing EFT, we often speak our fears out loud or silently to ourselves. And I know for some of us that this can feel uncomfortable. Like something I used to think was, am I manifesting this by saying it over and over to myself? And I am here to tell you that that is a hard no. We are not manifesting what we don't want because we are acknowledging it. And by acknowledging it, we aren't resisting it. And there's a big difference between repressing something versus bringing awareness to it so that we can release it. EFT gives us a safe space to say, this is what I'm feeling, or this is what I'm afraid of. And just like some past tools that we have discussed, like the Sedona method or saying, I love that, to a negative thought, we are removing the emotional charge, which in turn removes the power that the thought has over us. Okay, so you must all now be like, okay, Lisa, we got it. How do we do EFT? So because this pod would be several episodes long if I truly tried to explain all of the incredible ways EFT can benefit our world, and maybe we actually will do that one day in another episode of the future. But for now, we are going to get busy learning how to apply EFT in a very simple way so that we can all just get to tapping as soon as we're done with this episode, or maybe as we're doing this episode together. So first, there are 9 tapping points in the body, and they are the karate chop is what they call it, which is the flat side of our hand, which is opposite our thumb. Then the area right next to our nose, or where our eyebrows begin. Next is the temple area, kind of like the outside of our eye area. Then right underneath our eyes, just above the cheekbone. Next is our upper lip, right under our nose. Then we go to the center of our chin, just under our lower lip, followed by the collarbone area, or even that like little soft spot right below our collarbone. And then on our side, which is about 3 inches below our armpit. And if you wear a bra, it's right where our bra strap would be, under our armpit. And then lastly, it's the top crown area of our incredible heads, kind of like at the top, and maybe just a little bit towards the back. And if you want to double check if you have the right areas, then like I said earlier, there's tons of diagrams online. So please take some time to Google those images. It will make lots of sense after seeing them. And once you practice a few times, the meridian points will just be automatic. Okay, so now that we have this, let's start tapping. So step 1, we need to identify the issue or fear or worry that we have. And we need to get very specific, right? What is it? It could be, I'm afraid and have lots of anxiety around doing this briefing today, or I'm feeling out of control within my career. I am feeling unattractive. I am feeling unlovable. I'm afraid of being alone. I'm not good enough. I'm unworthy. I'm not rich enough. I don't deserve success. I feel like nobody respects me. When people say this particular thing, it triggers me. Basically, anything that creates an emotional charge within our bodies is something that we can tap on. So if we can feel it, we can tap on it. Now, step 2 is we then actually have to score or rate the level of fear or anxiety or emotional distress on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being low impact and 10 being high impact, because it is this that we will come back to measure our levels of improvement as we continue to tap. Step 3 is when we create the setup statement, and we do this while tapping on our karate chop point, which is the side of our hand, and we say something like, even though I feel afraid of doing this briefing today, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And we say this 3 to 5 times while gently tapping on the side of our hand with our index and middle fingers. Then we continue to tap through the remaining 8 points while repeating the statement that we established. Again, say the statement 3 to 5 times for each area and say it while you're tapping. And then it comes to the order, right? And I just want to say, we only have to do the tapping with one hand. So choose one side of the face or choose which you want to do it right-handed, left-handed, that doesn't matter, but it only takes one hand to do the tapping. So the order is typically you start with the side of your hand for the setup statement. Then you go to the inner brow near the nose, which is like the beginning of your eyebrow. Then you move to the side of the eye or your temple area, to the under portion of your eye on top of your cheekbone, then to the area under our nose right above our upper lip, to the center of our chin under our lower lip, then to the collarbone or the soft area directly under the bone, to the underarm area, which is where our bra strap region is, to the crown of our head. And once we cycle through for about 5 to 10 minutes, take a deep breath. And sometimes we even just yawn naturally and then reassess how we feel from an intensity level. Most often, it's going to take about 2 to 4 rounds to see truly noticeable results. And by results, I mean that we might have once rated a negative thought or emotion as an 8 or 9 from an intensity level, yet after tapping, it's now feeling more like a 5 or 6. And with continued practice, it falls again then to like a 3 or a 4. And we keep doing the EFT routinely up until the thought is no longer emotionally charged with negative feelings. And what I personally love about this technique is the idea that within 5 to 10 minutes, we can literally shift our emotional state by clearing blocked energy. Clearing limiting beliefs and negative thoughts give us the opportunity to reprogram our beliefs by creating new neural pathways and locking in the new high frequency beliefs that serve us in all the best ways. And we lock them in through many of the methods that we have been discussing in past episodes, like affirmations that we are truly open to receiving, journaling our desires, visualizing our dreams, gratitude practices, moving our bodies, stepping out into nature, laughing, exercising, snuggling our fur babies, drinking water, and anything else that brings us joy and promotes that high vibrational frequency of emotions within us that we just vibrate out into the universe. And I also want to add that with some of my friends who have been very open to trying EFT, thank you friends, you know who you are, and also with myself, self-worth is typically a main focus area. We cannot manifest very easily if we don't believe that we are worthy. So if you're feeling a little bit stuck, but you want to give EFT a go, I would recommend starting with the very simple phrase of, I am worthy. And if you want to elaborate on that, try, I am worthy of blank. Insert your desires here. Or, I am worthy of love. I am worthy of financial freedom. I am worthy of feeling valued. I am worthy of joy. I am worthy of an abundant life. I am worthy of perfect health. And then score yourself on these worthiness phrases that we're choosing to apply. And if it's not a 9 or a 10, then this could be a really great place to give EFT a shot and see if you can find yourself into like a very worthy and very joyful flow of high vibrational energy. And now, like I said earlier too, this episode was really meant to just be a starting point and an invitation for all of us to try and hopefully incorporate EFT into our everyday lives. It's free. It only takes a few minutes every day. And all you need is 2 fingers and some gentle tapping all about our bodies to clear out the negative energy blocks so that we can just get out there and live our very best lives. And before I close for this week, I want to just take a little tangent here and share that I was recently a guest on a podcast called the High 5 Hot Mess Podcast. Isn't that the most fun name? Yeah, it's called the High Five Hot Mess Podcast. And it was so much fun. So if you want to check it out, you can get it on, I know it's absolutely on Apple Podcasts, and I believe it's on Spotify and probably on many of the other frequently used podcast platforms. And there's also a video version of the podcast, so you can actually see my face, and you can find that on YouTube. And I will put both the YouTube link and the Apple link in the pod description. So please take some time to check it out. It's actually a really fun podcast. And well, I think that's a wrap for this week. And I don't really have a very clever EFT tapping quote, so I'm going to make up my own, and I'm going to say, I'm going to say negative energy doesn't disappear when we ignore it. It waits for the moment that it can be felt. So with that in mind, let's do our joy-filled selves a favor, and let's take the time to clear our energetic pathways so that we can enjoy the magic of love and joy coursing through our bodies as we attract incredible abundance into our worlds. And on that note, I am your host, Lisa Ryan. This is the Joy-Filled Universe podcast, where we explore all the tools and tricks that are going to make your universe even more joyful than it already is. And I will see you next week. Bye.